Hey, what's up, YouTube? This your whole King Geo. You see the King Geo shirt? There you go, King Geo. Yes, I don't have eyebrows. I took them off last night because I was pissed off. Now I just wanted to do something weird, so I did it. Well, let's talk about the implications of Roe versus Wade. So the Supreme Court, our highest courts in the nation, it's it has 9 justices. Six of them six of them who are Republicans, 3 of them who are Democrats. And the Supreme Court, by a majority, by historically, has always been Republicans anyway. But the decision to overturn Roe versus Wade, why I tell you it's a bad decision. Abortion is going to happen anyway. I mean, all you do by overturning Roe versus Wade is that you're giving the power back to the states. So now, in the federal level, it's no longer considered a right. That's what it is. It's not considered a right, but it goes back to the states, and the states decide if a woman can and cannot have an abortion. That's what it does. That's really all it really does. But it sets you back. It sets you back because it just tells you that we live in a country where people with power can tell you what you can do with your body. I mean, we all know not to kill. We all know not to steal. We all know not to tell lies. These are things that we all know because even though it's a law, up here in your conscience, you say that's the wrong thing to do. Okay? But when you have a religion, evangelicals who don't even study God, evangelicals who tell you that people who are of the opposite sex, I mean, people who fall in love with the same sex, who believe in same-sex marriage, people who are gay, people who are lesbians, or people who believe in that should be executed. These are people. You have evangelicals, preachers saying this now. If you look it up on YouTube, or if you look it up, maybe not YouTube, but if you look it up on TikTok, or you look it up somewhere else, you see these preachers saying that people who are gay should be prosecuted, should be killed, should be hanged. These are the people who are talking. These are people who talk about God. When did Jesus come to this world and say? Did he ever mention anything about hanging? Did he mention anything about that you should die if you think differently, if you feel differently? When did he say that? I remember him when a woman named Mary came to the crowd and people started chasing her, and he said, stone her because she was found in bed with a married man. What did Jesus say? He who has no sin cast the first stone. Or he is free. He does not sin. Cast the first stone, and no one casted a stone because everybody knew that they were sinners in their own little way. Same thing here. Here we are. We're trying to punish women for having an abortion. We're going around saying, or not we, the religious people, the right wing people are saying that if you're having sex, if you're having sex, you cannot have an abortion, right? That is a sin. But yet, those who read the Bible and read the Bible carefully know that in the Bible it does not say anything about abortion. It does not say anything about the routine. This is the reality. It does not say anything about homosexuality. It says the word homosexuality, but that was added on years later on. If you look at the context of the Bible from the beginning, it was never mentioned homosexuality. It wasn't. The meaning when this was added to homosexuality was when the Bible tells you the act of homosexuality, it means when two straight men have sex, because that's out of nature. That's not what God intended for two men to do. God intended two straight men to procreate with a woman, to have sexual relations with a woman. Now, when two straight men are having sex, that's a no. That's why it tells you in the Bible, Don't get drunkards will not be allowed in the kingdom of heaven, and blah, blah, blah. Because when you get drunk or you get high, whatever it may be, you tend to do some things that are out of nature, things that you would not do. You do. And having sex at times, that's what happens. With having sex with men, that's what happens. But having a feeling or an attraction for the same sex, I'm sorry I'm doing this, my stuffy nose, for having an attraction for the same sex, it's not a sin because that's how you were born. That's how you were created. And this thing about conversion, that doesn't work. This thing about doing this, that's who you are. That's who, if you're born gay, you're born gay. It's nothing, people are not born thieves, they become thieves. People are not born racist, they become racist. But however it means. But people are born gay. And that's plain and simple. But when you have a country, you have a government body, and you have people tell you you cannot have an abortion because I believe that it's against God's will, that's bad. Because that's not what God is all about. Okay? You're supposed to know what's good or bad. Right? So what happens now is that, you know, even when Roe versus Wade was there, women still are getting an abortion. They go to another state, they go somewhere to go, you know, they get the pill over the mail. It does not matter. This does not change the fact that the abortions will still happen. It just changes it in the federal sense that you have no more rights to an abortion. That it's left up to the state. It was always left up to the state. So, but it just tells you how condescending this country is, because all these people that tell you you cannot have an abortion, I'm talking about evangelicals and Republicans, to tell you that you cannot have an abortion, are the same people who do not go to a foster care, who do not go to a foster center and foster a child, who's never adopted a child, right? Why is our foster care system so overwhelmed? Because no one is willing to go and foster these kids. I don't care if they're black, I don't care if they're white, I don't care if they're brown, I don't care if they're troubled kids. Why is our foster system so overwhelmed with kids that people are not willing to take in? But yet these same people who say you cannot have an abortion are the same ones who are not going to these centers, who are not adopting kids. Does that make any sense to you? Does that make sense? They like to talk because they like their voices being heard. They want to be part of a group. They want to be, these are the people, even the justices, these are the people that want us to leave a mark in history so they can say, so when they die, like this was the person that overturned Roe versus Wade. This was the person that told these people that they can and cannot do what they want. They're attention seekers, and these evangelicals who so much are into the Bible, they're doing it the wrong way. Here I am. I love God. I love Jesus. And I believe in God and I believe in Jesus. Right? But I'm not going to sit here and say, you know what? You shouldn't do this because the Bible says you shouldn't do this. Because that's not the way that I live. You can ask me for advice and I will give you my opinion. But I will never put God into this. Because I know what is of God. If you come to me with trouble, I will tell you, why don't you seek God? Why don't you pray? Why don't you leave it in God's hand? That I will tell you. But I will never tell you, did you know that the Bible says that you cannot do this and you cannot do that? That is against God to do this and it's against God to do that. Because most of the things that God doesn't want you to do, it's all here. If you have a conscience and a heart, it's all here. Right? God just wants you to follow his word to the T. God wants you, which is not something hard, it's hard to do. He just wants you to love him and love no other God. He wants you to help others, to help your neighbor. regardless of color of skin. That's what God is. That's what God is all about. God is about love, not hate. But when you have these evangelicals do these things, and he's right, and these Republicans, that's just spewing division, and spewing lies. On my nose. And that's all it does. So here we come. We set back the clock, right, to women, but yet we do nothing to the men. We do nothing to the men because most of these states that have anti-abortion, they tell you, or even if you get raped, you cannot have an abortion. Even if you have sexual relations with a brother, or you get molested by a brother, or an uncle, a father, you get pregnant in the act, you cannot have an abortion. So you have to carry your baby, even though it's a rape baby, even though it's an incested baby, right? You cannot have an abortion, right? But you can carry the scar. It's okay to carry the scar. It's okay to carry the scar because we want you to carry the scar. We want you to know that you were raped. We want you to know that you had relations with, you were forced to have sexual relations with your brother or your cousin or your father. It's okay for you to do that. You can bury that scar. You can bury that for the rest. You can carry that for the rest of your life. But you cannot have an abortion. And yet turn around and not do anything to the man who raped the woman. Cannot do anything to the man who had sex with a woman, because if you're going to have if I'm a woman and I cannot have an abortion, then what is that baby's father or who impregnated me going to do for me? Is he going to give me child support? So if you're gonna condemn the woman, so why don't you go after the person who got that woman pregnant and say, you know what? Since life starts at the beginning of a heartbeat, so then should child support start at the beginning of the heartbeat. All right. Now you're gonna have to give me money because I'm carrying your baby. You're not gonna give me money at the beginning when my child is born. You're gonna give me money when you hear the heartbeat. That's what it should be done. But is it done? No, because women has been stomped on for so many years in this country. That's not even funny. The right to vote came late. A woman's voice is never heard because either they're feminists or whatever the case may be. A woman is always a second tier or a third or fourth tier in this world, and more in this. Well, in other countries it's because of religious belief, but in this country where we have freedom of religion, it's more even deeper than that. The women's rights are like this, and it's a shame. It really is. So it hurts me to see that we're living in a world in this country where a bunch of men and women dictate your fate. Can tell you what you cannot do with your own body, something that is yours, something that you can take care, something that you take care of every single day of your life. And because you have a sexual encounter, let me go back to this. So evangelicals tell you not to have an abortion, right? Because it's a sin against God. But yet they don't tell you that the act, because if they're following the Bible says thou shalt not commit sexual immoralities. So sexual immoralities can mean a lot of things. But for religious purposes, sexual immorality falls under the category in the religious world and in the evangelical world, falls under thou shalt not have sex before marriage. Because even though the Bible does not mention anything about you having sex before marriage, it doesn't say that you should have sex before marriage. It doesn't say none of that. It doesn't say that you have to be married and then have sex. The Bible does not say that. But it says sexual immorality. So when you say sexual immoralities, they say you can have sex unless you're married, right? Even though it doesn't say that, it just says sexual immorality. So by that means, if you're going by that word, You can have sex if you can have sex before marriage, and that's a sin. And you don't condemn this, but you're condemning this. Then you're really full of crap. You cannot condemn one sin if you don't condemn the other, because all sins are equal. All sins. Murder is not bigger than stealing. Telling a lie is not bigger than than telling a small lie. A sin is a sin. A sin holds no weight. A sin holds one sin's not bigger than the other. And in the eyes of God, all sins are created equal. Okay? So, if you go by that notion that murder is much bigger than rape, that murder is much bigger than incest, that murder is much bigger than abortion, then you're wrong, because they're all connected. They're all the same. So why don't we ever, I saw a story the other day. I don't know whether it's, I think it's true, but there should be something more to the story. I'll tell you a story real quick. There was a woman the other day who came on the news, who has a 16-year-old daughter. Her daughter was conceived through rape. The lady was 16 years old, and the gentleman was 22, 23 years old. Her daughter is 16 now, and just the other day, this woman lost the custody of her child to the rapist, because number one, it was statutory rape because she was under the age of 18 in the state that she was in. And number two, she said it was not consensual. So he never knew of he never knew of the child. And when he did know of the child, it's in a small town, I think it's Louisiana. Yeah, in Louisiana. So when he knew of the child in 2011, he went after custody. So they gave him 50-50. But mind you, the fact that this is a woman that was raped by this man. A few months ago, he had told her, "Don't mess with me because I will take the custody of the child." It's a small town in Louisiana, and that's exactly what he did. They gave him full custody to him because supposedly the mother gave the daughter a cell phone. So the court awarded him full custody. Mind you, she, a few years back, filed a complaint that he had raped her. And the county that she was in did nothing about it. Did nothing. The police station that she reported the incident, she reported the rape, this gentleman owns a business, and on his website, you can see that one of the sponsorship is that same police station that she reported the rape. What does this tell you? Again, that our system sucks. That how can you, after 16 years of having custody of your child, this man who raped you comes out of nowhere and can take your child away? Does he have clout? Yes, he does, because it's a small town in Louisiana. He has money. He knows people in the sheriff. He knows someone in the judicial system. And that judge who did that should be taken out of the bench. But do we do this? No, because the system that's supposed to guard us, the system that's supposed to be justice for all, the system that's supposed to be blind, is the same system who do not watch over their own when they do something wrong. You understand? When a judge makes a bad decision, no one higher than him or no one in the same level say, wait, this was a bad decision. Let me look into this, because all the evidence points to this, that. No one makes a complaint against that judge. No one investigates that judge. So it stays moot, so to speak. It stays the way it is. Why? Why isn't that judge being investigated? What correlation does that judge have with that man? Is there more to the story? Perhaps, yes, because you listen to the story, say the judge gave full custody because of a cell phone. You know how hard it is to a woman to lose custody in this country? But, and and then over a cell phone. So there's more to the story. But why isn't that judge being investigated? Why isn't they saying, why is this judge connected to this person, to this man? Does he know him? Are they friends? Do they hang out? Because that is what the decision making became. That's my boy. I'm going to protect my boy. I'm going to give you full custody. What favors did this man do to win that custody? Okay? Because just because over a cell phone, that doesn't make any sense. But it just tells you how corrupt our system is. How corrupt our system is, and yet lawmakers, even Biden and everybody, has the audacity to say that we have the best justice system in the world, when we don't. Where justice is not blind, it's one-sided. Okay, the scale of liberty doesn't scale to both sides. It only scales to one side, and that's the side of the rich and white. Okay, you cannot say anything about this country that's not likable in some sense that we have the highest incarceration rate in the world. We have the most criminals. We have the most people jailed. I'm sorry, I'll take that word back. We have the most people jailed of any nation in the world. Most of our people who are incarcerated are blacks. Now, when I say that, I say it with the utmost respect, because there are black people in jail who have committed the same crime as white people, and yet those white people are afraid. Some blacks get more sentence for the same crime than white people do. You can look throughout history, and you can look at any case in your state, and look at two people or more, and look at two people, let's just say, who have no criminal background, right? But they have the same case. And 8 out of 10 times, you're going to see that the white defendant is going to get less time or no time than the black defendant, whether it's male or female. And that's a fact. But yet, we don't look at that. We look at, oh, he's black or she's black, so she deserves to get sentenced because all black people are the same. Right? And it's a shame. So to say that our justice, when Biden says, I don't like it when Biden says that our justice system is the best, that our justice system is here to serve and protect. No, it's not. That means the police that is here, that our system is the best, that our system does its job. No, it does not. It does not do its job. If you're white with money, it does their job, but that doesn't do your job. Look at Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, they arrested my brother because he cursed at, and you know the story of my brother that he passed away in November, because he cursed at the girl that he was going out with at that time, at his partner. They gave him domestic violence because he called her a bitch. He called her a bitch. So because he called her a bitch and he cursed at her, in Puerto Rico, that's considered verbal abuse. So he got arrested because of that. He got arrested for domestic violence. And my brother couldn't believe that he got arrested for that. And for long stories, I'm not gonna get into that. So it just tells you how idiotic some laws are. Never touched you. They put my hand on you, but because I called you a bitch, I got arrested. That's the way things are. We live in a backwards world. And when I say backwards, I include Puerto Rico too, because Puerto Rico has some laws that you say to yourself, what the hell? And it's just astonishing, because all these laws are either because of religious belief or not for the common best. Because even as strict as the policy that Puerto Rico has, even a strict policy although the Puerto Rico has against domestic violence, yet domestic violence happens every year in Puerto Rico. Women are killed in Puerto Rico at an alarming rate by their partners. Um, a few years back, when I was in Puerto Rico, there was a town called Lares, where no Lares, I'm sorry, Patillas, it's in the lower portion of Puerto Rico in the south, where a woman was on the phone with the police people, with the precinct in Puerto Rico. You can hear in the background, she's pleading with the police to come to her house because her husband, who, mind you, has an order of protection, is at the door knocking like a crazy man. He was there knocking like for 45 minutes, banging the door. You can hear him on the recording banging the door. The commanding officer, not the commanding officer, the officer who was in charge at that time, who was the one that was taking the phone call, says, "We don't have any officers to send to your home." Now, remind you, Puerto Rico has two police officers. They have state police officers, but here's state troopers, and you have your local police officers, where every town, there's 72 municipalities in Puerto Rico. So you have municipal police officers, and you have state police officers. Municipal officers cannot go from one municipal to another and arrest. And their powers of arrest is limited to certain things they can and cannot do. As to a state police officer who can go anywhere in the island of Puerto Rico, make an arrest, and has more power. And so you have these two entities, and yet you cannot send a cop over to her house. Because why? Because according to the reports, they were going out giving out tickets. Now, mind you, on the 45th minute mark, this man entered the house, stabbed a woman 71 times, and killed her. Right? So mind you, he has an order of protection. And then he helped her out. Same story in Florida, where a black woman, in her own home, she had an order of protection against her ex-husband. Her ex-husband entered the home. She said whatever she said, stop, or whatever the case may be, took her gun, shot up in the air so he can leave. They arrested her. They gave her time. Same thing happened to a man in the same county. The white man did the same thing, shot up in the air in his home. Got no time at all. So you tell me, where is the justice in this country? All right? You can tell a woman not to do it. You can tell a woman you cannot have an abortion. But you don't do nothing to the man who got her pregnant, because it takes two to tango. So the woman's always getting the back end of the stick because she's a woman. And we still live in an age where, and it's true that when I tell you this, where a woman's job is to be in her home, be in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, bearing children, and take care of the family. That is still the concept, I would say, of 60% of American men. That's their concept, a woman. You know? It's not my woman, my wife is equal to me. It's okay if my wife makes more money than I do. It's okay if my wife and I make decisions in the home. It's okay that my wife and I do things together. They don't think like that. I'm the breadwinner. I decide what happens in this house. I'm a man because that's the way it is. And things are done my way. Not our way, but my way. And it's sad. And it's like plain sad. So where are all these evangelicals? Where are all these Republicans? Why don't they go to these foster cares and foster these kids out? We have these kids in the foster system who have no family. No one wants to take care of them. But yet here we have the right-wing people. Here we have the Republicans. Here we have the evangelicals. Yeah, you cannot have baby. You cannot abort a baby. You cannot abort that child. So that child, if that woman is a woman, it's gonna be put into a foster system. It's gonna be put to an adoption. Not too many people adopt in this country. But people prefer going to China. People prefer going to Russia to adopt those people. I mean those kids, but they don't adopt here. I don't see, I don't see adoption agencies flooded because adopting here in the United States apparently is a hard thing to do with all these red tapes that you got to go through, which you should because you want to make sure that a child goes to a good family. But it's much easier to adopt abroad than it is here, so people go abroad. Our foster system, I'm assuming, it's flooded with kids who have no home, but people yet they don't want to foster them. And those who, in the majority who do foster them, are doing it for the money, not for the better extent, not because of the child, not because they can't have a kid or they want to help a kid, not because of that, it's because of the money. So these people, these evangelicals, these Republicans are all hypocrites. They don't want you to abort, but yet they don't adopt. They don't want you to abort, but yet they don't foster. And then when this person does have that child, that person, they don't want that person to go on welfare. They don't want that person to get Medicaid. They don't want that person to get food stamps. Right? If that person is poor and doesn't have a job, so then it's her responsibility to take care of that child, right? But nothing for the man. The man's not responsible at all. He can leave and do whatever he wants, but unless the woman takes him to court, unless the woman says that's the baby's father and applies for child support, the man is free to go. But he comes to law and says you cannot have an abortion, but he gets to do whatever the hell he wants to do. And that is the sad part, because you're punishing the woman, but you're not punishing the man. So if this woman is pregnant and she knows this is the father, then she has that right to say, you know what, I want my child, I want him to start paying child support, regardless if she's going to give it up for adoption or not. Because he's responsible. It takes two to tango, like I said before. So at the minute that there's a heartbeat, that's the minute that he should start paying child support. Why they don't do that? Why don't they equal the playing field? Because women's rights in this country really don't matter. Really. You have a woman senator in the Senate, you have a woman president. Do you think her voice really matters to those men? No. Then you say, okay, because they don't want the public to say, that the Senate is a male-dominant job. Most people who are in Congress are white male. Okay, they're old, they're outdated, they're antiquated. They still think like dinosaurs. Okay, but they're there because they want to make their money. They're there because they want to get their retirement. They're there because they were lawyers or doctors and they were not good at their job. So they decided to do the second best thing in the world or the next best thing in the world, and then become a politician because everything is paid for. You get money from lobbyists, you get endorsed by lobbyists, and that's your job. That's why we have so many things and so many crime. Just recently, the Second Amendment was upheld, that you have the right to bear arms. Clarence Thomas said that the public's safety is not that much of a concern to overturn the Second Amendment or to even do anything to the Second Amendment. So that means that killing kids in school and doing mass shooting is not of concern to say that, okay, this needs to be changed. Because now, mind you, the Second Amendment has nothing to do with people bearing arms. The Second Amendment has nothing to do with the right to people to bear arms to protect the homes or to protect themselves. Has nothing to do with that. But America has made it into that. The white man has made it into that. You have the right to bear arms, and that's not what it was made for. But that's not what it was intended for. To be honest with you, the Second Amendment was really intended was for the black person, the black slaves at that time. The black people would not have the right for arms because they were afraid that if you gave the black people the right to bear arms, and then if the Second Amendment was to say every citizens of the United States regardless of race, color, or creed, has the right to bear arms to protect themselves. All right? To protect themselves. And left that at that, that means that or the right to bear arms, that would mean that the people that were slaves had that right too. So they could bear arms, so they could take a gun and shoot their masters for having them enslave them. Right? For shooting their masters, for beating them. Because they're going to protect themselves. That was the Second Amendment was made for. Is so that the slaves will not uprise and go against their owners. And I hate using that word owners because they were not owners. They were people who enslaved, they were basically kidnapped. Right? That's what it was for. But as time went by and you had the NRA was rising and all that kind of stuff, and the NRA is a powerful thing here in this country. And they go by points. They actually go by points. They go by ratings. So if you go against them, they'll rate you bad. Like, who cares? You're a politician. You have to serve the people and not to serve a business. And do guns kill people? No, people kill people. But it is so easy to get a gun that you have crazy people doing crazy things. So it's just a crazy world. This is a crazy country. We were set back 500 years. I believe that the court should be an equal playing field. The Supreme Court should be packed. I think that they should put two more justices there. So at least one, because it's 9. You can make it. You got six that are Republicans and 3 that are Democrats. Make it a playing field. Make it 12. 6 and 6, because these Republican justices, Clarence Thomas is an idiot. I give him that much. But these Republicans are not going because that's their belief. They're going for what the people are saying, what evangelicals want them to do. Because even though these justices are there for life, they want to make a marking. You see Sotomayor and you see the other judges who are more liberal. They don't make big splashes because they don't want their names to be known. They don't want to be. They're not there for the recognition, should I speak? All right. Amy Barrett, who never sat on the bench. She's never been a judge in her life. She never took a case. She never tried a case. Was nominated by Donald Trump and got nominated and got in. Kavanaugh, a man who was accused of raping women, molesting women, got in. What kind of justices are these? Right? Clarence Thomas got into the judge. Clarence Thomas became a judge, Supreme Court judge, only because of affirmative action. Not that he was qualified, all because of affirmative action. Okay? So we have to learn to lay the playing field. Democrats need to learn to pull up their pants and do something about it. Biden doesn't want to do nothing. He's such a wuss. I give him credit for having the economy up. The economy is up. The unemployment rate is down. Even though people don't see it, but our economy is up. But because of inflation, you don't see it. But if you look at the numbers, our GDP is going up. Our economy is on the rise. There are more jobs out there. But you don't see that because of the inflation. You don't see it because of the gas prices. But, Lord and behold, we're not the only nation with high gas prices. If you look at other nations, even before the pandemic, countries like Hong Kong, countries like Ireland, countries like, that don't produce oil, their gas prices are high. $10 a gallon in Hong Kong, $7 a gallon in Ireland, a year round, not because of the pandemic, a year round. That's how high it is before the pandemic. And then we cry. Recession is everywhere, not just here in the United States, it's everywhere. Gas prices are high everywhere. So I give him and his team a little credit for having our economy up. But there's more needs to be done. And the Senate, every Republican is knocking down every decision that Democrats are doing. For God's sake, every Republican, every member of the Republican Party in the Senate said no to gas gauging. All right, that's where the gas stations hike up the price to whatever they want, and they can get away with it because they're not being monitored. So the Senate, for the Republicans, wanted to put a stop to that and wanted to put a gas gauge on it. And the Republicans said no. Why? More money for the oil company. If you put a cap on where you can raise gas up to, how high can it go? Why is our drug companies, why are our prescriptions so high? Why are pills so high in America? Because they pay Congress to be high. Look at Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban right now opened up a drugstore, a pharmacy, should I speak. And his prices are incredible. His prices are incredible. Look it up, how much is penicillin. Look how much there are at prices. His prices of drugs are the same price that you buy them off the pharmaceuticals, what the pharmaceutical pays. You can't beat that. He's doing what the system is afraid to do. This is Mark Cuban. He's doing what the system is afraid to do. That's incredible. Like my eyebrows. Think about that. Think about that. A penicillin, I thought I saw a penicillin the other day at $17, something like that. They were making a report, you know. And if people and they made a study in Harvard, the students there, that if the states were to apply what Mark Cuban is doing, they would save billions of dollars. Why don't you think, and I keep saying this over and over in my videos, why don't you think that in other countries, medicine is so cheap? Some people can afford it because they don't work, and the economy is not like ours. Or they don't get the help that we do. Why is it cheaper? Because these countries, these pharmaceuticals don't have a hold in Congress like that. In their Congress. They don't have a hold in Mexico. They don't have a hold in Canada. They don't have a hold here. So these countries can afford to sell it cheap. And people go to those countries to get their medication. And it's sad to get some medical. I saw in Hungary where hair transplant is way like $5,000 for you to get hair transplant. While here it's like what, $30,000, $40,000 more. Same procedure where people go gastro bypass, you know, to reduce their stomach. Here's like $40,000 or $50,000, and you go to Mexico or another country, it's way cheaper. Airfare included. You know, you're not gonna go like some of these people go for a butt lift and they go to the Dominican Republic and they do the shit in the person's basement, and then something happens and they wonder why. Why would you go to someone's basement to get a butt lift? You know, or to get operated on in a basement for such a procedure? Anything that where you have to open up your skin, anything has to be inserted in your skin, an object, and you know that it's not supposed to be in your skin, you're gonna need medical attention. It needs to be done by a professional because you need to use the right tools. You have to have the right medication. You have to sterilize everything. You can't do that in a basement. But yet people go. I see people go to the Dominican Republic for whatever butt lift, breast implants, or more butt lift. And I read that they died because of the infection that they got in. And when you read, it was done in the basement. So back to Roe versus Wade, it does absolutely nothing because women will still be having abortion, but it just takes away from the respect that they have on women. It's telling them that we don't care for you. We don't care what you do. We care. I mean, we don't care for you. We care what you do in a sense that we can tell you what you can and cannot do. That's the victory that these idiots get. They get to say, we told you that we don't want you to get an abortion. You're not going to get an abortion. You can't do this without our consent. That's all it does. Give evangelicals and right-wingers, these Republicans, more power. Supposedly more power here. And to be honest with you, I barely pay attention to these things because my focus is on my family. My focus is to make sure that my house is paid for. My focus is on that I have a good relationship with God. I'm focused that my soul, that when I die, I get to go to heaven. You know, when people say, oh, but heaven isn't whatever, whatever, whatever. This is what I believe. This is not a religious belief. This is my belief. Like I said, I don't believe in religion. It's my belief. I'm more concerned in the relationship that I have with God than when I am my concern about what people think of me, what society thinks, what society has to say. Because when I die, I'm going to die alone. When I get buried or cremated, I'm going to get buried and cremated alone. But this is just a body. This is the physical body. I'm more concerned what's going to happen to my soul. That's my concern. What relationship do I have with God? That's more important to me than anything in the world. Than anything. But being that I live in this world, I have to abide, of course, by by the world's, by the United States rules. And those rules don't steal, okay? That's all cool and fine. But when making a decision that I have to make on my own, that's me. It concerns my body. If I don't want to take this medication and I want to go into a coma and die, that's my choice. If I don't want to have this baby because this baby was produced by this, that's my choice. If I want to be promiscuous, and I'm talking about as a woman, if I want to be promiscuous and I want to have sex and I get pregnant 10 times and I want to have the baby 10 times, that's my choice. It's my choice. Because just because you have that baby, that doesn't guarantee that baby is going to become a successful person. That doesn't mean that baby is going to contribute to society, or the child or the human being is going to contribute to society. We don't know that. We really don't. Okay? So this is just going backwards, not going forward at all. But it is what it is. Life continues. Let's stop bitching about gas. You know, people, there are jobs out there. Go out there and work. If you have no education, get yourself a craft, get yourself a trade. So this way you can have your own job. You can make your own wages. You can charge whatever you want to charge. All right? So, if you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do so. Look at the shirt. King Gio. Look, King Gio.